Hi everyone. In this video, we are going to look at the helpers folder. In the helpers folder, we have a subfolder called enums as well as other files. In enums, we defined a list of enums that will be used across the app. But before we go into them, let us look at the subfiles. In sizeconfig.dat file, we have a class called screen size. The purpose of the screen size class is to take in the width and height from our UI design, preferably Figma if you have one, and then based on those figures, perform certain computations on them to give us a responsive UI. So in our screen size class, we have our media query data, the screen width, the screen height, and the orientation. We have an init function in the screen size class that initializes all these variables or properties. So beneath the screen size class, we create an extension on numbers. In this extension, we have two getters, that is H and W. H standing for height and W for width. Now, you remember I said that we are going to get the height and width from the UI design. So from the UI design or from your designer, you get in the height, pass it to the H getter, and then the width, pass it to the W getter. Now to explain what happens here, we see that we are getting our actual screen height from the screen size.screenHeight property, which we defined earlier in the screen size class. Now what we are returning is the number that will be passed. We'll divide it by the layout height that the designer will give to us and then multiply it by the actual screen height. Same for the width. We are getting the screen width from screen size, which is the actual screen width. We will divide it by the number that will be passed to this size extension and then multiply it by the screen width. This is quite straightforward and simple. When you do this, you are bound to get a responsive UI or layout. Each item scales down to the desired size that it has to be. Moving forward, when we look at the screens folder, we'll see how we have implemented this, or we have utilized this. Below the size extension, we have some global variables we have created in here. I want to save you the hassle of rewriting all of these over and over and over when needed. So in cases where we need to use columns or rows, we do not have to rewrite main axis alignments.start, main axis alignments.center, main axis alignments.end, etc. all over and over and over. That is too verbose. So in here, we have defined global variables that map to these alignments. So we have main start for main axis alignment start, main center for main axis alignment center, etc. That runs through even the scroll, that is bouncing scroll physics and never scroll physics. Take your time to go through this file and understand all the processes here. It's going to help a lot in building responsive layouts. Under enums, we have about 4 enum files. There's the balance type enum, Momo services enum, quick access enum, and shop list enum. Now when we open the balance type enum, we see here that we've defined enumerators or enums for balance type, and that is airtime, data, SMS, and broadband. Now we've also added a getter to get icons for each enum. So if the balance type is an airtime, there's an icon we give to it. If it's a data, there's an icon we give to it. If it's broadband, there's an icon. If it's SMS, there's an icon. And then the default icon is no encryption. We are also overriding the toString method on this particular enum, such that when a user does or types in balance type.airtime to string, we are going to get this fully capitalized airtime string. Same applies for data, broadband, and SMS. This implementation runs across all the other enums. So when we go to Momo services, we have our Momo services enums, the getter icons, as well as the toString override. Same applies for quick access. We have our enums, we have our icons, and then we have our get name method also. In the shop list enum, same applies. We have our airtime, which is our enums, we have our get icon getter, and then we have our toString method in here. So that's all for enums. Our last file to look into is the helpers export.dat file. In helpers export.dat file, we export all files that are defined in this helpers folder. So all the enums as well as the screen size configuration are all exported here, so that in using them in your UI, you don't need to import them individually in here. All you have to do is to import the helpers export file, then you have access to all the files in the helpers folder. We are almost done going through all the folders under this project. I know you can't wait to get started and write meaningful code to be added to this. Check out our next video as we look at the screens folder.